Now that the presidential election is behind us, one of the big issues here in Washington is the so-called fiscal cliff that is staring us all in the face. That, of course, is the name that has been given to the fact of life that there will be tax increases and severe budget cuts on January 1st if nothing is done to stop it. Now, we asked the American public how important it is to do something to stop it, that President Obama, the Democrats and the Republicans get together and solve the issue, and lo and behold, the American public thinks it's very important that something be done. Look at those numbers in front of you. 82% say it's either extremely or very important that the president and Congress do something, reach an alternative plan so that the fiscal cliff is averted. Republicans are slightly more likely than independents or Democrats to say it's important, but basically it's important across the board. Well, that's easier said than done to sure do something about it, but what? Well, one thing we know from the American public is put partisanship aside and compromise. That's what we hear from the public. We gave them some choices. We said, should Republicans compromise more? Should Obama and the Democrats compromise more? Or should both sides compromise equally? And what we found is that overall, 2/3 of Americans say both sides should compromise equally. And what's interesting, even though more Republicans than the average said that Obama should compromise, and more Democrats said that the Republicans can compromise, about 2/3 of both Republicans and Democrats, even when given those alternatives, came back and said, no, both sides should compromise equally. So this is one of those occasions in our polling where we find that partisans on both sides say, rather than sticking to a party position, compromise is necessary and important on this fiscal cliff. By the way, 71% of Americans say they've been following the story of the fiscal cliff very or somewhat closely. We put that in our database of a lot of other news stories that we've asked that question about, and the average is 61%. So although Americans aren't totally off the top of the chart in terms of paying attention to this, they're clearly above average in focusing on the fiscal cliff. I'm Dr. Frank Newport, Gallup Editor-in-Chief.